Your starting pitching is starting to round into form. You got a great performance out of Cole. You got a great performance out of Rodón. Find me the issue in this series.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen, and I'm your host, Brian McKeon. Stacey's a little under the weather, so it'll just be me for tonight, breaking down the rest of the Oakland series, getting into the Baltimore series that's coming up. Yankees' magic number is now 1. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Before we get started, don't forget that you should subscribe to the podcast on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. And subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Like the video and hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. So everybody watched the Oakland series, got into it. Seattle series was good. They win the series. And then you go into Oakland and you're a little indifferent, right? You get the starting pitching matchups that you definitely want. And you start creeping up a little further closer to the division on Baltimore. But you really wonder going into the series, is it like a letdown spot for the Yankees? Turned out completely opposite of that. They went out, completely dominated Oakland, swept them in the series. He had a scare on Friday night. And that was it. Other than that, find the negative that came out of the series, right? Judge hits a couple of home runs and gets to 55. Stanton hits an absolute moonshot that I'm sure still didn't land. Dominguez played hot and made the decision for the Yankees a lot harder on whether he's going to make the playoff roster or not. Your starting pitching is starting to round into form. You got a great performance out of Cole. You got a great performance out of Rodón. Find me the issue in this series. Find me where the Yankees did something that, as a fan, kind of made you a little uneasy. Because I certainly can't find it, right? You had the game on Friday night where Cole pitches a complete game, literally a complete game, throws 9 innings, strikes out a ton, gets his 7th win of the year, lowers his ERA to 3.67, which if you think about where it was a few weeks ago, after that one bad start, or the 2 bad starts against the Mets, ERA right in the mid-3s, 7 strikeouts, 9 innings, 2 hits, one earned. I mean, can you ask for a better start than that? Is there more of a bulldog start than that this late in the year? Let me just read off something to you really quickly, just so you guys are aware. Gerrit Cole has 88 1/3 innings pitched this year, which, if you really consider how he pitched all year and how he was out for a majority of the start of the year, Gerrit Cole now at 88 innings pitched, only giving up 76 hits, 38 runs, and 94 strikeouts. He's going to get 100 strikeouts. He's been unbelievable. He's really rounded into form. He's really gotten his season back on track. You couple that behind him with Carlos Rodón and how good Rodón was the exact next day. So the Yankees win that game with Cole starting 4-2. They break it open in the top of the 10th and get going. Then you go to Saturday, where you think you might get off to a slow start. You don't know. Carlos Rodón starting. Rodón goes 6 innings, 5 hits, no earned. Unbelievable start, lowers the ERA to 3.98. Mark Leiter Jr. comes in and gets 3 strikeouts. And the Yankees win the game 10-0. Absolutely destroy them. You get runs out of Stanton. You get runs out of Dominguez. You get runs out of Volpe. You get a home run. You get another home run from Judge. And then you go into Sunday, and again, Sunday to me felt like the ultimate let you down spot. Or how did it not? You go into Sunday, you're like, all right, they already won 2. They're going to start preparing for the Orioles series. You think they're going to look ahead to the Orioles series? 7-4 victory. Judge gets his 55th of the year. Luis Gil gets off to a rocky start, finishes at 5 1/3, 5 hits, 4 earned. Not his best, certainly not his worst. You couple all that together. The Yankees sweep the A's. The magic number gets down to 1. Because all you got to do is beat the Orioles in any singular one of these games in the next 3. We went into this series talking about this series beginning a month, 2 months ago. Me and Stacey sat her on the show. The live shows with you guys in the comments. Every single show, it was basically a look forward to this series that starts on Tuesday. That's what it was. You're going to need to take 2 out of 3. I said to you guys, if this is under 2 games of a Yankee lead, you're going to start sweating your boots a little bit. They're going into the series with a 6-game lead on the division. Remember, the whole month of June, July, August, it was all a half-game game. Think about that. They've gotten hot at the right time. And I know you kind of refrain from saying that because you really don't know. But they have gotten hot at the right time. They are that team. It's weirdly enough, them and the Mets, who have gotten hot at the right time going into the postseason. Now, don't let up. They're going to win the division going away. I mean, we thought this was going to be close. It's not going to be remotely close. Have the Orioles fallen off? Sure. But if you look at how good this Yankee run has been now, over the last 2-3 weeks, they've been the hottest team in all of baseball. I don't know how, as a Yankee fan, you can look at this and not be proud. The resiliency of this team. And by the way, hidden in all this, the Yankees found themselves a closer. I mean, can we give some praise to Luke Weaver? He's got that goofy attitude in the clubhouse, in the interviews after the game. Absolutely. But my God, Luke Weaver on the mound, late in games, bulldog, stoic, serious, gets the job done. He's got like no earned runs given up since coming into the bullpen, an insane amount of strikeouts since becoming the closer. His Ks per 9 is like 20-something. It's that great. You can't underestimate what sweeping Oakland is. And I know Oakland's season is over. They're looking forward to the golf courses. This was their last series in Oakland until they moved to Vegas. Well, they moved to Sacramento for 2 years and then go to Vegas. Can't wait for that, by the way. But you look at all this, you couple all of it together. Starting on a little bit of a roll here. You go ahead, you beat Baltimore, you beat Pittsburgh. Now all of a sudden, you're on a roll going into the postseason. Your magic number for the 1 seed in the AL is 3. 3. You need 3 wins out of your last 6 to clinch the number 1 seed. Think about where they were in June and July. It was more than a swoon. It was 2 months of bad baseball. Now all of a sudden, you're in the postseason. The postseason goes through the Bronx. You won the AL East by almost double-digit amount of games. Who the heck saw that coming? I can't imagine any of you. I can't imagine any Yankee fan, June and July, by the time that Orioles series came, would have told me they'll be up 6 games at that point. It makes no sense. And we'll get into the starting rotations in a little bit. The Orioles did line up their rotation to have their best starters out there. Yankees kind of didn't. And they were trying to, but I think the injuries and the 6-man rotation coming in kind of screwed it up a little bit. You're still going to get Schmidt. We'll go over the rest of it in the 3rd segment. But overall, you look towards this series. You now need 1 win or 1 win against the Pirates. It's almost a fait accompli at this point. You're going to win the division. You're very, very, very close to the number 1 seed in the American League. And now the playoffs are going to run through the Bronx. You told me that 2 months ago, I wouldn't have believed you. Would have called you crazy. And somehow, some way, getting out of the trade deadline without a closer and Clay Holmes getting worse than he ever was post-trade deadline, you found yourself a closer. And you found him in-house. Something nobody thought you'd be able to do. Nobody saw that guy in the rotation. Nobody saw that guy in the bullpen. In the minors, no one knew where he was. You couple all these things together. Who's getting in the Yankees' way? Who scares you in the American League? I look forward to you guys commenting in the comments. I'll be reading them tomorrow. We'll certainly get to them in tomorrow's show. But seriously, what is the excuse this year for not winning the American League pennant? Yes, they've struggled mightily at times. Have they been inconsistent? Yeah. At the plate, on the pitcher's mound, for sure. But what team is there going to be a built-in excuse of, you probably expected to lose to that team? Is there one? So I don't see them. It really is crazy how unbelievable they've been. You won 5 out of 6 on the West Coast road trip. The Orioles can't beat Detroit, who's surging. We are in for some heck of a playoffs because the consistency, the parity, the entire league's going through, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. Truly is. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on all of our videos. Hit the notifications so then when our videos go up, you get notified. Also, reply to the pinned comments on our videos Monday through Thursday if you want your questions answered for Fan Mail Friday. Or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description and you'll get text from me and you can ask us questions. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, we're going to go over what happened in the minor leagues. Teams going to the championship series. That's a big deal. And also we'll look at the rest of the American League picture when it comes to the postseason. This episode of Locked On Yankees is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Boston, Baltimore, Houston. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more, on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball team's rival city during the postseason. Maybe it's time to taste test your baseball competition's stadium cuisine. Luckily, on Booking.com, you can find the stadium stay that's just right for you. With Booking.com's wide variety of choices across the U.S., you can go incognito to all of your baseball rival cities. Booking.com delivers exactly the right U.S. stay for you, and Booking.com can also help you book a stay that's close to your team's rival stadium. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family and friendly resorts to cute bed and breakfast stays, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. And Locked On Yankees is also brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start this season off with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where that you place your bets. Where are you guys feeling, right? The NFL season changes week by week. Teams change their perspective. Certainly, all of the survivor pools are getting knocked around like crazy. So what are you feeling? What are you looking at? Any lines that you want to check out early on in the week, you can find all of them on FanDuel.com. You'll get started with a $200 in bonus bets if you sign up today. It's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Don't forget that you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. All right, welcome back. I want to go over the AL standings because the Detroit Tigers don't lose. But first, we're going to go into what the Yankees did in their minor league system. The Somerset Patriots, they punched their ticket to the Eastern League Championship Series for the second time in the last 3 seasons. They beat Hartford. They completed a 2-game sweep of the Yard Goats in the division series. That was Thursday night. They got a pair of 1-run victories. That's pretty cool to see, right? Somerset going to the championship series. Spencer Jones getting some experience, even though it's a minor league playoff experience, it's still playoff experience. So that's a positive sign. And Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, the Rail Riders, they beat the Buffalo Bisons 8-4 in their season finale. Ben Rice hit a grand slam in the game, helped the team get their 89th victory of the season. It's their second most wins in a single season in franchise history. So some good stuff coming out of the minor leagues. Yankees system has been really solid so far this year. It's the kind of stuff that you really want to see, right? Because it's looking forward to years and years and years to come, right? You need to keep fortifying your minor league system. That's how you make trades in July. That's how you make moves, right? We were all upset, and the Yankees have found themselves a closer, but we were all upset that they weren't able to acquire Mason Miller. They didn't seem to get the pieces that everybody wanted. Well, you look out at the rest of the league, you bolster up your minor league system, you're able to go acquire those pieces. So you got to keep getting this minor league system better and better. Certainly experience like this definitely helps. The AL wildcard picture is out of control. I don't know if you guys have realized this, if you've been paying attention. So the Orioles are playing the Tigers this weekend, and it really became a major series because the Tigers need to win every game possible to try and get the Twins out of it. Well, they did. The Tigers have now jumped into one of the 3 wildcard spaces at 82 and 74. The Twins, 81 and 75, fell out of it. The Mariners still out of it. They are 80 and 76. So all these teams are separated by 2 games. The Kansas City Royals, Detroit Tigers, Minnesota Twins, and Seattle Mariners are all separated by 2 games. If you want to bring the Rays into it and the Red Sox, they're all separated by 4 games. Think about how crazy that is. That's how far back it all goes. Baltimore is pretty much solidified. They're up 4 games on Kansas City. It would be a miraculous collapse if Baltimore somehow fell out of the playoff picture. So I highly doubt that'll happen. But Kansas City, with how good they've been all year, and we discussed who the heck wants to play them in the postseason, I can't imagine Kansas City not getting in. With how good their pitching's been, with how consistent they've been all year, they don't really lose a lot of games in a row. Plus, they get a 3-game series against the Nationals and then a 3-game series against the Braves. So you close out against the Braves really tough, but against the Nationals, you think you take 2 out of 3. The Royals should be fine. The Tigers are the interesting one here because although their schedule on the way out isn't necessarily the easiest, not the hardest either, right? So you get a series against the Rays, who are still fighting for something also. Now, the Rays' path to getting in is really, really far out. They're going to need a lot of help. But they are still playing for something, and they are still a pesky team. But then you close out with 3 games against the White Sox, which, is a godsend if there ever is one. The White Sox actually today tied the Mets for the most losses in a season ever with 120 losses. So you're really going to see right now what's going to happen. Because if Detroit can, win that White Sox series, that's 3 wins right there. The White Sox going into their last series of the season will likely have already broken the all-time loss record. What are the White Sox playing for at that point? Really nothing. Then you get 3 games against the Rays. We'll see what they can do about them. But if you take one of those games against the Rays, then you can take 3 against the White Sox. It's almost a guarantee at this point Detroit gets in. With how crazy of a season, Detroit was 6 games out of it at one point in August. They're right back in it. They've had a sizzling September. I mean, who the heck wants to play Detroit? And it could be a likely Yankees team that they play. I wouldn't want to play them at all. You have an ace in Skubal. You have a team that's figured out how to hit. They're a pesky young team with nothing to lose. And A.J. Hinch, been a bugaboo for the Yankees in the postseason, if you guys haven't realized over the last couple of years. So I'd want nothing to do with Detroit. Minnesota, I mean, what Yankee fan isn't gonna want to play Minnesota? I mean, they just own them in the postseason. They're now a game out of it. And they could miss the postseason after how good they've been all year. They're 81 and 75, 6 games to go. If Minnesota misses, I mean, that is absolutely huge. And there's a real chance they do. You go into a series at home against the Marlins. Marlins have not had a great year. They're nearing 100 losses. So there's that. Then you close out against Baltimore. And Baltimore, while it does seem like they're going to make the postseason, not exactly all clinched yet. So they are still going to need those games. With 3 games against Baltimore, that's a toughest schedule on the way out. So you get your easy matchup, and then you get your really difficult matchup. They really could get caught. And the last team, Seattle, they're 2 games out. They play the Astros for 3 and the Athletics for 3. So not a lot of these teams have tough matchups. Believe it or not, the team with the toughest road to finish the year is Baltimore, who finishes with 3 against the Yankees and 3 against the Twins. That's not easy at all. So you look at the rest of this picture. I mean, could Baltimore fall out of it? I suppose. I highly doubt it. It's going to take a lot. They need to win 2 games to clinch a playoff spot, where their magic number is 2. I think they're fine. Kansas City, you'd like to think gets in. It's going to be really hard for them to miss with how good their pitching's been, especially with these 3 games against the Nationals coming up. Then it gets fishy, right? I think Detroit's getting in. I do. With how consistent they've been over the last month, with how sizzling hot they've been, how do you have Detroit missing at this point? They've been so unbelievable. It really is. It's been a sight to see. So you got an ace. You've got a hot lineup. It's going to be really hard to find Detroit missing the postseason at this point with how good they've been. So coming up, we're going to preview the pitching matchups in this series of the Yankees and Orioles series. And we'll go over a little bit of these matchups on the way out. I'll look at the National League for you guys too. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. With over 5 million active members, PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play PrizePicks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. PrizePicks puts their members first, so with all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money in as quickly as 15 minutes. Guys, you can pick anything on PrizePicks, right? Over-unders, totals, they're all available. Go online, look at what your options, NFL season, baseball playoffs, NBA is getting rolling around real soon. It's all right there for you to pick on PrizePicks. Here's what you got to do. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code ONEWORD LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code ONEWORD LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome back to Locked On Yankees. Remember that you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the XXM app and search the word Yankees. Welcome back, guys. So we're going to get into the last series of the season. I'm going to show you guys the pitching matchups first. Game 1 is going to be a TBS game, actually. They're all 7:05 starts. Dean Kramer will go for the Orioles. He's 7-10 with a 4.19 ERA. He'll go up against Marcus Stroman. He's 10-8 with a 4.04. I want to preface this, though. I don't know if ESPN.com has the accurate starting rotations. This is what they have. This is what I was given. This is what MLB.com has. I don't necessarily trust it. Game 2, 7:05, Zach Eflin. He's 10-9 with a 3.53 ERA. And then Nestor Cortez will go for the Yankees, 9-10 with a 3.77, but has pitched really well of late, so we'll see what Nestor can give you. Then Game 3 will be a 7:05 start. Corbin Burns, who's 15-8 with a 2.95. He's had a great year for the Orioles. He'll go up against Clark Schmidt, who's 5-4 with a 2.37. Clark Schmidt might get himself a playoff start. He's been unbelievable for the Yankees, how good he's been. I think right now Clark Schmidt's your 4th playoff starter. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments. Or you can find me on Twitter or X at _Brian McKeon. I think Clark Schmidt's a playoff starter. I think he's your 4th playoff starter. I think it's Cole, Rodón. It's got to be Heel and then Schmidt. You got a blessing out of finding Luke Weaver out of the bullpen. You really did. Because if Luke Weaver doesn't become your closer and doesn't become this dominant force for you, where do you go in the starting rotation? Because I think at that point, Luis Gil is almost forced to go into the closer role, or at least into the bullpen to help assist. So you got a blessing out of Luke Weaver becoming what he's become. He's been an unbelievable closer for the Yankees. You got to just be grateful for what they've given you. Going into the postseason in the American League, who's the team that bugs you? And I get it. There's matchups that you don't necessarily love, right? Like, I don't want to see Detroit with how good Detroit's played. Scary team. Do I want to see KC? We talked about it for the last month. KC has looked awesome all year. And they've got that playoff formula that you really don't want to see. Baltimore, the talent's still there. You know the talent's there. Look at the rest of this. Look at the rest of these teams. Do any of them necessarily scare you that much? The rest of the American League. Does Cleveland really scare you that much? With how inconsistent Houston's been all year. Do they really scare you that much? So you look throughout the rest of the American League. Who's that scared you? Who's that team that you just can't picture the Yankees beating? You're going to have home field advantage. Every team is going to have to run through the Bronx. Really hard at this point to come up with a team that the Yankees just can't beat, right? If we go through the National League a little bit, I wanted to get into this with you guys. Philadelphia's locked up the National League. They've been unbelievable all year. They've locked up their division. They're 92-63 at this point. It really does feel like the struggles Philadelphia's had, especially with the Mets in the last week and really ending the season, it kind of feels like they're one of those veteran teams, been there, done that. They've been to the World Series they won a pennant recently. They've been deep in the playoffs every single year the last couple of years. It feels like Philly's in a been there, done that kind of mood, and they know they clinched a playoff spot. They got off to the hot start. Get us to the playoffs. And that's what it feels like with Philly. The rotation is sound. The starting lineup is really, really, really good. That's going to be a tough team on the way out. And then second place in that division is the Mets. And we'd be hard-pressed to mention how good the Mets have been in the last month. I mean, they've been incredible. Francisco Lindor is going to be an MVP candidate. Who saw that's coming out of the New York Mets? Absolutely nobody. They've been unbelievably incredible. Atlanta's still chasing them. They're a game and a half back. Going to be a really hard time for Atlanta, but the Mets play them now in a series. So push comes to shove. This is the situation you were scared of with the Yankees, right? Going into a final series against Baltimore, I was saying if it's under 2 games, I'm scared. I'm shaking in my boots at that point. The Mets, same exact scenario. Under 2 games, if I'm a Mets fan, I'm still shaking in my boots. Now, Atlanta's super injured. Atlanta has not been consistent, but the Mets have those tendencies too. The Mets have been super hot over the last month. Can they keep it going? Can they close it out? This is the same issue you faced 2 years ago where they couldn't close it out down in Atlanta. So we're really, the Mets are going to be able to push forward, get into the postseason. These games are, again, 3 games in Atlanta, and then you get 3 games in Milwaukee, who likely won't have anything to play for, but still is not an easy time. Now, picture this. If the Mets get the final wildcard spot, they'll play Milwaukee in the first round. The Mets could have 6 games in a row played in Milwaukee. Really tough start. The last 3 games of the season and the first 3 games of the postseason. However, Milwaukee hasn't clinched anything as of yet. They've clinched their division by default because everybody else is eliminated. But Milwaukee could still catch Philadelphia technically for the top spot in the National League. So there is something they're kind of playing for. Could be over by that point. We'll have to see. Philadelphia has been inconsistent. They're kind of waiting for the season to end. They get 3 games against the Cubs who have nothing to play for, then 3 games against the Nationals who have nothing to play for. So likely Philadelphia winds up finding themselves in one of the top seeds. Dodgers get 3 games against the Padres and then 3 games against the Rockies. Now, Rocky season is over. Padres is not. Padres haven't clinched anything yet. Neither have the Diamondbacks. Those are the top 2 teams in the National League wild card. So good chance Milwaukee doesn't get the top spot. They probably won't have anything to play for by the time the Mets get to town. That's a positive sign if you're a Brewers fan. If you're a Mets fan, that the Brewers will probably sit a lot of guys and not have anything going. Brewers get 3 games against the Pirates, then the 3 games against the Mets. So really interesting wild card picture. It would be hard at this point to see the Mets not making it. The only thing standing in their way is literally Atlanta chasing them. That's it. And again, Atlanta, a game and a half back, they're going to have to pretty much sweep the Mets. But the Mets lose that series to Atlanta. Atlanta's final 3 games are against the Royals, who will still have something to play for. So Atlanta does kind of get, the Mets are going to get Milwaukee, who likely will have nothing to play for at that point and will likely not start their best pitchers because they'll be playing in the first round. They will not have the bye. Whereas Atlanta's going to have to go up against Kansas City, who likely will have a lot to play for at that point because there won't be a guarantee to have anything locked up. So really, really interesting scenario that you're going to see going in because in the Mets, you got to take 2 games against Atlanta. That's it. You take those 2 games, you should be fine because Atlanta has a rough final series. Really interesting spot, though. Really impressive how well the Mets have played. Let's see if they can complete the comeback and kind of right that ship wrong of what they did in the previous year. Regardless, both New York teams have been the hottest teams going into the postseason. They have. Still waiting to see if the Mets are going to get in. But regardless, the month of September, both of these teams have been the hottest teams in all of baseball. Yankees on an off day Monday, which is well-deserved rest day after going 5-6 on your road trip. And then you welcome Baltimore to town. The most anticipated series of the year. A little less juice than it had, but still a really fun series. So we'll see what it holds. One more time, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. I want to thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day. The link to the Locked On MLB is in the description, so you don't even need to search. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure that you check out the Locked On Yankees podcast right here on the Locked On Yankees podcast feed, as well as streaming on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel. Get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On Yankees postcast. So that will do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Brian McKeon. We'll see you guys tomorrow.